Hi, what's up, y'all? Today we're gonna get into the first video on brand new channel, JD Reacts, where we're gonna be reacting to creepy TikTok, strange, dark TikTok clips. So let's get into it.
The creepiest place in every state. Iowa, Stony Hollow Road, known as the most haunted road in its state. Outside the city of Burlington lies a long stretch of gravel, which is known to be haunted by the ghost of a woman named Lucinda. It's said she jumped off a nearby cliff after her husband left her. Ever since that day, people claim to see her ghost on the side of the road. Legend says if you ever see her holding a rose, run. As if she lays the rose by your feet, it means your death is near. Would you want to visit? Morbid Facts, Part
Nah.
50. Actor Jake Lloyd played young Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars The Phantom Menace. But at the age of 12, he retired from acting permanently due to bullying and destroyed all of his Star Wars memorabilia. Years later, he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia after being involved in a high-speed car chase with police. In a Mexican prison in 2020, two rival drug cartels decided to put their differences aside and play a friendly soccer match. Somehow the game ended with 16 people dead. The first suicide hotline was started by a British priest named Chad Verrat in 1953. He decided to start it after directing a funeral for a girl who took her own life when she had her first period. She thought she contracted an STD and had no one to talk to reassure her that she was fine. In 2020, a Jesus statue in India had water mysteriously dripping from its toes. Worshippers flocked from all over to collect and even drink this miracle water. But soon enough, the source of the water was found to be a clogged toilet near the statue.
Disturbing facts you wish you could unhear.
Now I never knew that info about young Luke Skywalker and like the actor. What happened to him? That's crazy. I would have never thought that.
Part 3. This video shows a man playing Dance Dance Revolution being recorded by some people making fun of him. 6 months later, the man Adam Lanza would murder his mother, then drive to Sandy Hook Elementary where he would murder 6 adults and 20 children. A 46-year-old man found and attacked a 13-year-old boy because he was killing him too many times in a game of Call of Duty. There have been numerous cases of people's intestines being sucked out of them by vacuum toilets on airplanes.
Oh man.
So if you want to keep your insides, make sure to stand up before flushing. A man once donated his mother's deceased body for scientific research. He later discovered that the research facility sold her body to the US Army for $5,000 where they would blow it up with explosives.
These are videos humans were never meant to see. Okay, so we all know about the ancient pyramids in Egypt, but have you ever seen what it looked like from the top? Probably not, but you're about to, and there's just something about it that's extremely unsettling. Okay, so there's only been a couple documented videos of people on top of the pyramids, and that is one of them. The pyramids have been around for 4,500 years, and the fact that they're still standing is just mind-blowing. But what's more mind-blowing is that somebody actually got to the top of it and gave us such a spectacular view. Some Egyptians back in the day definitely stood there at some point in their lives and enjoyed the same exact view, just in a different world 4,500 years ago. So let me know if you would try and risk it and get to the top of the pyramids, because this person did and got a once-in-a-lifetime view that none of us will ever experience.
Japanese yokai, Kamikiri, the barber yokai. Kamikiri are small creatures.
I wouldn't try to do that, me personally. It would be cool, to go up there and see what it's like, but I feel like, that's too protected by the people who manage the pyramids, stuff like that. You probably find yourself in a sticky situation.
Razor-like beak and has hands like razors. They are small enough to sneak quietly through open windows and doors. The main goal of a kamikiri is to cut a person's hair off. They will hide under roof tiles and will wait for someone to pass by. Often, the victim is asleep in bed when the kamikiri attacks. In the olden days, they are feared because having long hair was the only fashion back then. But nowadays, with different hairstyles being popular, they are no longer feared.
Morbid Facts, Part 47. Bruce Lee's son Brandon was accidentally killed while filming for The Crow when he was only 28 years old. A prop gun was loaded improperly, causing dummy bullets to fire at him with the same force as live ammunition. Author of Frankenstein, Mary Shelley, is said to have lost her virginity on top of her mother's grave. She also kept her dead husband's heart and carried it around for 30 years until her death in 1851. In 2014, Harvard University discovered that 2 books in their library were bound using human skin. One of the books is called Destinies of the Soul, and inside, the author left a note that read, "A book about the human soul deserved to have a human covering." In 2015, a woman claimed that she could smell Parkinson's disease. To test this, doctors gave her 12 shirts to smell, and 6 of them were from Parkinson's patients. She correctly identified the 6 shirts, but also chose one from the control group. 8 months later, that person was diagnosed with Parkinson's.
So I've seen videos that Japan wanted to make real life Pikachus, and they have.
Some of those stories were crazy, like the book of human skin in the library. Man, you wonder who made the book.
Nintendo wanted to take this project. For the past, I'd say 7-8 years, they were extracting DNA from rabbits, hamsters, and eels. And I don't know what's the rate from each, but they made an animal that looks like a Pikachu. With it also has the red cheeks, yellow body, and like black ears and like a black nose, black eyes. 5 years later, they have made this Pikachu. Okay, the eel DNA that they extracted is because they wanted to give him zapping power, like Pikachu.
Why give
Electricity, like real electricity.
Why are you like weaponizing this shit?
They got this. They made this animal.
Yeah.
And they wanted to test it out. It looks so cute. It's like so innocent, you know? Bro, Wallah, it looks exactly like Pikachu, bro. They brought this thing home. And they wanted to test it out as a pet in a household. He was so like vulnerable, cute, you know? One day, these people go out, they come back home, their dog is dead. This thing is so territorial, bro. This thing is so violent, and then people are like, if we created Pokemons and we made Pokemons real,
Yeah.
we would be doomed, bro.
Not yet, bestie. Also, we're playing the rake today. A real photo of the rake himself that was captured in the woods. Sit on the edge of your bed in a dark room. Rake, I offer you my... If you hear the growling, run.
Join the live. If your dog starts acting like this, it may be warning you of an evil presence. A tattoo artist in Sydney, Austin, was woken up at 5:30 a.m. by her dog Coda. Terrible. What exactly did Coda see that caused her to act in such a way? Let me know what you think.
Breaking news: after more than 50 years, the woman in the box has been identified.
Yo, it's interesting how a lot of people's pets and animals will like pick up on like certain unseen things, I guess you could say. Like, you know, your animal might notice it before you. It's interesting.
The woman's body was found wrapped in plastic in a trunk on October 31st, 1969 in St. Petersburg, Florida. Witnesses told police they saw 2 men arrive in a pickup truck and place the trunk in a field before driving away. For years, detectives searched for missing persons report that matched descriptions of the victim, but they had no luck. The case went cold and she was buried under, quote, Jane Doe. In 2010, they exhumed her remains. However, they were, quote, too degraded, and again, the case went cold. But in late 2022, early 2023, they were able to get a hair strand that had not been tested. This identified the woman as Sylvia June Atherton from Arizona. They said she had 5 children and absolutely no ties to Florida or St. Petersburg. Detectives say she left Tucson with her children and took 2 of them to her ex-husband in Chicago. She was never seen by her children again. Authorities say they now know the trunk that she was found in belonged to her. They also know that she remarried and her husband never reported her missing, and he passed away in 1999. They said, quote, so you can see there's some inferences here that we have to kind of fill in the gaps. Authorities say at this time they do not know who took her life. They say this is where amateur sleuths come in and they are asking for the public's assistance in helping. After being identified, her daughter says she feels, quote, relief. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop.
Somehow, these pictures just
Being killed or whatever happened, you know, killed and put in a trunk. You know, your own trunk. It's very unusual. Real unusual.
getting worse and worse for me. So this is a still that was captured on the motion camera that was stationed in Janelle Churg's living room. This is the man that police definitively believe attacked her on this night. Neil lived alone, and a lot of people live alone. A lot of people have security cameras. We all kind of have these things, right? But you can only imagine when she woke up to an alert on her phone, and this was the person that she saw on her living room camera. As the story goes, by the following morning, her sister had actually arrived to pick up Janelle because they were supposed to go to a farmer's market together. She found her sister's head sitting at the front door of her apartment. This man who was seen on camera was never identified in the case. Actually left a lot of people wondering, if her security cameras captured this, why did her alarm never go off?
Loopsy Gamers has been facing some really creepy paranormal events in her home lately. In this first video that I'm about to show,
That was like some straight out like a horror film, right? Dang, man. It looked chilling too. Picture of the guy in the living room is like, it's unreal.
guys, titled "Witch Shapeshifts into Cat." She captures something really strange on camera. Check this out.
Estamos viéndolo. ¿Quién eres? Tú no eres un gato. Ay, ¿qué es eso? Vete de aquí, ¿quién eres? ¿Qué es eso?
What is that?
¿Quién eres? Te estoy grabando. ¿Quién eres? ¿Por qué estás aquí en mi casa? ¿Tú no eres un gato? Tú no eres un gato. Te ordeno que te vayas de mi casa. No manches. ¿Qué es eso, Regina? Se abrió la puerta. Se abrió la puerta. Se abrió la puerta. Uy, güey. Se abrió la puerta. Vamos.
Strange, isn't it? But it gets stranger. In another video, she's playing heads and tails with her daughter when all of a sudden this happens.
¿Ahorita, Sarita, mi esposo me es infiel? No. ¿Gina tiene novio? Vaya. Tal vez. Ay, es que sabes una envidia. Como por ay, Regina, la quitas que sí. ¿La quieres aventar hasta la otra cuadra? Tal vez.
What?
Another true crime story of how they were caught, and happy Mother's Day. Charles Neiman and his wife Devin went into a convenience store to get snacks when they were approached by a male. The man wanted to rob Charles and instead shot him twice, killing him. The wife described the attacker as a younger Hispanic male. The convenience store footage had a camera inside. Though grainy, it did show some information. It showed a gray pickup truck enter the lot. A front passenger opened up the door for a back passenger who was the suspect. Found a black t-shirt in a nearby alley and two .40 caliber shell casings. Officer noticed a square firing pin which indicated a Glock. Well, a man in Colorado heard about the crime and actually thought he encountered the suspects before the crime took place. And he said he saw three men in a gas station with a Chevy truck with Louisiana plates. Police didn't have much else to go on, so they used an investigative tool called IBIS, and they entered the casings into the Integrated Ballistic Identification System. Very similar to the DNA databases and the fingerprint databases, but it's for casings and bullets. They take high-definition scans of the bullets and casings, and they can use those to link to other cases, such as cold ones. Bullets and casings have unique markings that can help police identify the gun used. When police entered the casings into the database, there was no match, and the case went cold. Police got a small amount of DNA from the black shirt, but it was a weak sampling, and they weren't able to get a full profile. 4 years later, police tried to use the IBIS system again, but this time they expanded to other states other than Oklahoma. This time they got a match to a Glock that was recovered in Denver, Colorado from a previous crime. But the man who had the gun had a solid alibi and was not a suspect in the case. This is because guns used in crimes, especially with gangs, travels all over. So police traced the Glock serial number, and it came back to a police chief in Louisiana whose gun was stolen. Turns out a gray pickup truck was stolen that same day in Louisiana. The victim with the stolen pickup truck told police he noticed a cigarette butt in his driveway and he didn't smoke. So police collected it. They were able to get a DNA hit off of it. DNA came back to a man named Zach Wilson. When police showed him a photo of the victim, he started crying in the fetal position and quickly confessed to the crime. He said he had gone on a multi-state crime spree with his half-brother and a friend. It was his half-brother Timothy D's turn to commit a crime. He robbed the victim freaked out and actually shot him out of panic. He said they later fled to Colorado and he tried to sell the gun, but somebody else actually stole it from him. Zach and the friend got 25 and 35 years, but the half-brother who shot the victim got life with the possibility of parole. Casings in a cigarette butt solved this case, and that was how they were caught.
This man killed his daughter and then
You know, that's kind of crazy. How deep they were able to go into the investigation. I never knew a system like that existed to track the shell casings. That's something new to me. I've never heard of that before. But it's interesting, but the crime itself is just awful, you know, damn.
6 children or his 6 grandchildren. This is the 911 call made by Don Spirit after committing these murders. Just listen to this and I'll explain the whole case after.
Gilchrist County 911, what's the address of the emergency?
Yes, ma'am. I just shot my daughter and shot all my grandkids, and I'll be sitting on my step. And then when you get here, I'm going to shoot myself.
What is the address that you're at, sir?
2550 Northwest, 25 Paris, Don Spirit. Every one of them are dead.
You said your name is Don Spirit?
Yep.
Alright, Don, what kind of gun do you have?
It doesn't matter what kind of gun I got. They're all dead, and then when you get here, I'll shoot myself, and then you figure out what kind of gun it is.
And how long ago this happened, Don?
I don't want to hear it, man. I'm done with every thing. Just bring them out here, that's all. You got all the kids are dead in the house.
Okay, how many people?
6 kids, 1 adult.
Don Spirit was the father of Sarah Spirit, who had 6 children of her own. Don then murdered his daughter Sarah and his 6 grandchildren, including the youngest being a baby. He was very manipulative and abusive, and he eventually just exploded. He shot all the members of the family, and the baby's cause of death is still unknown to society, which is very disturbing. And the crazy thing is, he already killed his son years prior, but it was ruled an accident.
That one is so disturbing. That last one about the dude who killed all his grandkids and his daughter is like, you gotta be a sick individual to, you know, even do something like that. Like, man, all the kids, everybody, and you heard this tone with the 911 operator. I was surprised how calm the 911 operator was listening to the dude, you know, man.
Just saw somebody up here, and it's the scariest shit I've ever seen, dude. Like, I was just down here, and I was back down there in that corner right there, and I literally just like can't. What the fuck?
Oh.
Another true crime story of how they were caught. In 2008, in Columbia, Illinois, Chris Coleman and his family started receiving threatening emails and letters. Chris Coleman, an ex-Marine, did security work for a popular ministry, and the work started receiving threatening emails as well, such as "I will kill them all in their sleep." 6 months later, the Coleman family received a letter in the mail that was not postmarked, so it was hand-delivered, and it said things like, "This is going to be your worst nightmare." Then in May 2009, Chris woke up early to go to the gym and later couldn't get a hold of his wife, so he asked his detective neighbor to check on her. At the house, the detective noticed an open window in the back, and he went inside and discovered something horrific. The detective noticed red spray paint all over the walls, saying things like, "Bitch, you are punished." He went upstairs and found Chris Coleman's wife and 2 children dead. An autopsy would later reveal that all 3 of them had been strangled. Detectives then did a routine background check on the husband, Chris, and found out he was having an affair with his wife's good friend. Detectives actually flew out to Florida to interview his mistress while they were still interviewing Chris Coleman about the crime, but the mistress didn't give much information. Police had collected samples of the spray paint and learned exactly what type of spray paint it was, the brand, the make. Digging into Chris's financials, they learned he'd actually purchased the same spray paint on his credit card months earlier. An autopsy had also showed that all 3 victims had rigor mortis, which is the stiffening of the muscles, which generally takes place around 2 hours after someone stops breathing. This was a red flag for detectives because Chris said he went to the gym, and an hour later, all 3 victims were found in rigor mortis, and this conflicted with his timeline. Forensics believed the time of death to be at about 3 in the morning, which means Chris would have been home at the time. Then detectives did what's called a KQ analysis, where they looked at writing samples from Chris and also from the threatening messages. Detectives found out that Chris would often put the apostrophes in the wrong place, and the threatening messages did the same thing. They learned Chris spelled the word opportunity wrong, and he put words together such as good times instead of separating them. Police believe Chris did not want to get fired from his ministry job for committing adultery, and that the only option was to kill his family so he could start a new life with his mistress. CEO of where Chris worked also said that he hadn't missed work in 11 years and called in sick the day before the murder. He was also seen on a neighbor's camera playing catch with his sons the day before the crime and had been planning this for at least 6 months. Police believe the mistress was not involved and she was not charged, but Chris would get life in prison, and that was how he was caught.
He kept hearing noises while working in an abandoned facility.
Yeah, that's a sick individual right there. His own family for an affair, you know. It's like some things you hear, it's like, it's hard to even input on them. It's so, you know, disturbing and messed up. Like, what has to go through someone's head to be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, you know. But we're going to wrap up right here. This was the first video on the new channel, you know. I hope y'all stay blessed, stay positive, have a happy new year, and I'll see y'all on the next one.